Today we're looking at a Dell PowerVault 124T tape autoloader from the mid-2000s. This thing has two magazines, each holding 8 tapes, and an LTO2 tape drive inside. LTO2 tapes can hold 200 gigabytes of uncompressed data. It can be instructed remotely to bring a particular tape to the tape drive and move them into all the various slots, from the front mail slot into the various positions in the tape magazines, for example. We'll of course check out its very nice, I must say, web management GUI, and try to get it working on a Compaq PL800 Pentium 3 machine running Windows 2000. That won't work. But Solaris on a Sunfire V440 will save the day, and we'll actually read and write some data to tapes with this thing. Let's get into it. This is a Dell PowerVault 124T. This is an LTO tape autoloader, and it's comically large. Zip 100 disk for size reference. It also came in a ridiculously large box, and with about 3 garbage bags of styrofoam and packing peanuts. Okay, but what is this thing really? It is an LTO tape autoloader. So these are actually, as you'll see, long cartridges that accept, I think, LTO2 Ultrium 2 tapes. These are 200 gig native, 400 gigabyte compressed tapes, LTO2. I think that's the drive I have in here. These are new old stock from Dell as well. I got these for a different project, but they're probably gonna go in here. So let's grab one and see what they look like. Ooh, they're purple. So here we've got a Dell branded Ultrium 2 200 gigabyte tape. I don't really know how the tape unspools. Guessing some of these, yep, these doors open up. And this tape cartridge goes in this unit. And there's a single tape drive in here, and it looks like you can probably slot one in for on-demand use, perhaps. But the real story here are these massive magazines, which are stuck in there until I turn it on. Though I did see a YouTube video about how to get these out if the thing is broken. Let me see. I think the guy just did something like this. It can't be that easy, right? No. Okay. Whoa. Whoa. This thing is really long. I would say a good 2 feet long. And thus the cartridges are as well. Here is one of the 2 tape magazines. And I was also reading that you can spin the little trays around like that. So basically what you do, I think, we'll find out, is you spin those around. I don't know where you're supposed to load them. I guess maybe it doesn't matter. Pop one in. Do we dare? Yes. Okay, and then check this out. You can load up to 8, I think, in each cartridge for a total of 16. I'm just going to bring that one back around, see if I totally destroyed it. Oops, it's coming back. I don't know why they give you 2 windows. I also don't know how to eject the thing. Maybe you just pull. You just pull. Now, as we'll see, if this thing actually works, it will automatically go to a tape of your choice. There's a mechanism in here that's going to pull it out and put it in a tape drive, and it exposes that tape over the SCSI bus to a computer. I think these were coming out in the mid-2000s. This one, I believe, was built in 2009. I saw a sticker on the back. We'll have a whole look around the thing. Let's put this comically large magazine, I'm going to say comically large like 30 times today, back in, and it locks in. And for future reference, you can take a credit card and kind of weasel your way in there like you saw me do earlier to eject it with the power off. You can also power this thing up, which is what we're going to do shortly. And through these menu systems down here, you can eject each side. Starting with the back, I see that it is refurbished. Hopefully that's okay. And it looks like it was built in July of 2009. It takes like 110 through 240 volt power, which is great. We'll be giving it roughly 120 today. It is a SCSI model. Some of them were SAS, so you'd hook up SAS cables. There were maybe some other iterations, but luckily I've got SCSI. That's easy to deal with. It's got an Ethernet port because I believe there is a net management. It's hosting some GUI we will obviously be taking a look at. And again, this is a PowerVault 124T from Dell. I've got the rail kit for it. I haven't unboxed that yet, but it came with the unit on eBay. And these screws are for the rails, I think. And they're just kind of like dangling in there, and so I was kind of worried about how I was going to take it apart. I'd like to take it apart and watch the mechanism do its thing. Maybe it'll have like a lid switch or something we'll have to trick. We'll figure that out if we can get it working anyway. And these were a little concerning, so I'll show you how I dealt with that shortly. Then on the front, of course, we've got the left and right magazine. We can eject these independently with this little menu system. And it has like an admin password, which is like 6 zeros. And I was reading online that if that's been set, you have to contact Dell support. I think mine is using the default, as we'll see. And then there's this kind of locked tape door. I haven't read the instructions too much. Maybe you can like tell it to bring a tape to the front. I'm not really sure. We'll play around with that. I'm gonna get this thing hooked up. We'll power it on. It does a bunch of self-checks. We'll be able to hear it like rotate the magazine and check everything. It takes quite a while for it to decide everything is cool. Let me get this plugged in. All right, got it plugged in, and it's so long, I think I'll film it on an angle here for you. There is a power switch on the back. I'm gonna flip that now. Some not very loud fans turn on. It says Dell Post on the screen. Give that a minute. And then initializing, please wait. And maybe you can hear that. I think it is cycling through all the slots. So I believe that it's rotating that magazine the same way I was manually. It says system ready. That took about 3 minutes, and it makes some pretty unpleasant noises while it's checking everything. Don't know if that's normal, but that was pretty nerve-wracking the first time. And we can get into this menu system, and I think we can view the status of certain things. And we are SCSI ID 4. It knows it has a left and right magazine. Barcode reader. So I don't have any or a way to make the barcodes, but you can put barcodes on the edge of the tapes and it will read them and tell you the value of the barcode, I guess, which is pretty cool. Probably pretty common in big tape libraries like this. So that's all we've got here. And I think if we go to drive, status, drive tape not present, that's probably fine. Hopefully there's a drive in here. That would be not good. And I believe it is an LTO2 drive. Now, I think these things could support up to LTO5. Those tapes are a lot bigger than 200 gigabytes. So that almost makes this thing kind of useful in modern terms. And then one more, let's go to commands. And we can eject the right magazine. So check this out. Spits it out. And when I push back in, it does the full self-test again. So I'll be back in like 60 seconds. Wrapped up its self-test, and I was noticing I can eject the tape mail slot, which I believe is what it's calling this, you know, like put some mail in there, I guess, by barcode. Oh, yes. So, come drive. By location. Yeah, so if I get one of these tapes into one of the numbered slots in a magazine, I think it will bring me the tape out of here. I really don't know. We're gonna find out later though. And of course I can eject the left magazine as well. And then down in configuration, we can take a look at the Ethernet address. Oh, I can set it, in fact. We'll do that later. I don't know what I'm doing. Enter password, that's what I was looking for. It's in the commands section. And I want to be an admin. You can be an operator or an admin, apparently. Admin password's all zeros. Operator password by default is all ones. And if I just give it all zeros and submit, it seems to be fine with that. So I think this never was set or got factory reset or something. So that's really good. I promise we're almost done looking at these tiny little menus. I'm looking at the Ethernet settings. There we go. It's got a static IP, 192.168.20.128. The next order of business is let's get a computer hooked up to this thing, get them on this same network, and see what we see. We're gonna get the trusty IBM ThinkPad T60 running Windows 7 on a network with this thing. I'm also having deja vu, which is really weird because I've definitely never done this before. But I'm too curious. I think I figured out a way to tell this thing to put a tape in one of the slots in the menu system. Let's look at that first. So I was looking in the commands section, and there's an enter mail slot. I don't know what to drive means. That probably, actually, I have a good guess. That probably means put the tape right in the drive and be active on the SCSI bus. Let's put it in a location, and I'm going to say slot 1 and press enter, I guess. Insert tape, push until prompted. Oh boy. Are we going to destroy my new old stock Ultrium 2 tape? Oh my god. And you have to really get it in there. What is that? That far. That's almost like an entire zip disk. Oh, it's doing something. Holy crap. As I recall from the eBay listing, this was pulled from a working environment. Man, it really makes some concerning noises. That might be normal. We're going to be patient and do what it says. Wait. Apparently that went well. I'm going to guess that it's in the left cartridge and that they started with 1 on that side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to eject. This is cool. I can bring the tape back to the mail slot. Should we let's just do that first, see if it can do that. So it's knows there's something in slot 1, but it's complaining that it doesn't understand the barcode label. I think that's fine. We'll see if it'll bring it back to us. In hindsight, this is obviously how you'd use this in normal operation. You would load these cartridges up. Oh man. You would load these magazines up, and then obviously you would be pulling and putting in single tapes as needed through this menu, I'm guessing. I don't know. I've never used this thing. What is it doing in there? We're going to pull the lid off later and see what's going on in there for sure. Look at that. It gave it back. All right, I'm satisfied. We'll see what this web interface is all about. We need to get this ThinkPad networked up with the big guy, and I like to use these moments as an opportunity to use all the crap I have. I was going to use this little Linksys 10100 5-port workgroup switch, but I can't find the power adapter. So we're in the modern era with the TP-Link Gigabit 8-port desktop switch, the Amazon Special. I used to use this a lot. And it looks like it supports 10 and 100 megabit networks, so that's actually kind of cool. They obviously stole the design from the old Netgear stuff. I've always kind of wanted to dive into that. Did they buy? Is TP-Link somehow related to Netgear? Because this is just like too similar. We got connectivity from the tape drive, and that yellow thing there, I believe, means it's operating probably at 100 megabit. And I can't find the power adapter for this now, so I'll be right back. Check out how fast Windows 7 boots. This is real time. It's even faster if you have a legit copy of Windows 7. But I think you get the idea. She's connected at a gigabit, just in case this web UI from 2009 is really cooking. I couldn't tell you why Windows went with, or Microsoft I guess, went with the open a million windows to get into the properties of something, but it's probably just because I'm used to it. But I like it. This tape drive's on a 192.168.20 network. 115 for us is fine. And then I think this doesn't really matter for our use case, the default gateway. Okay. See how fast that updated? That was a nightmare in older versions of Windows. Ooh, they're talking to each other. Let's hit the IP that the tape drive was telling us about. Oh yeah, and then you have to kind of like trick IE8 or whatever this is into doing it. I don't know, stay offline. There's like, sometimes it'll do it, sometimes it won't. Oh, it might be HTTPS. No, I know. It's part of the fun. When this version of Internet Explorer thinks you don't have an internet connection, see, working offline, it really doesn't like to hit like local addresses. Just do it. Just do it. I believe in you. We can ping the Dell. It's out there. We just got to trick a browser into going. You think at this point I would have installed a older version of Firefox, because this would just not be an issue. Got it. Didn't do anything particular. I just pressed enter a bunch. It's showing a bunch of status. It knows about the magazines. It knows that it's an LTO2 drive. It even tells you what is on the LCD operator panel. Let me change that and see if it updates. Okay, I just clicked a bunch of buttons. Yeah, look at that. It knows that I'm on the commands, the eject commands screen. That's pretty cool. I don't know why you'd want that, but I like it. Let's go to configuration. Uh-oh. Let me go read the documentation. This number here is what Dell calls a realm number. And if you don't know your passwords, you have to contact Dell support. There's actually some forum posts where people have just posted this and some Dell guy is like, yeah, I'll DM you with your stuff. Ridiculous. We're going to try 6 zeros administrator. That did not work. I was actually reading the documentation a little bit, and I think you're actually setting the administrator password here. So when I was typing in those zeros, I think I was setting it, but I don't know how to get in here. I don't know if I'm going to regret this, but in the configuration area, we go all the way down, there is a restore default to the system config. Oh man. We'll see what happens. A few moments later it says, please cycle power, and we'll do that now. I just turned it back on. It broke. Doesn't turn on anymore. Are you kidding me? I think we're back. I had to pull the power cord, put it back in, and then it would turn on when I press the power switch. Okay. It finished its little initialization where it looks at all the magazines. And I don't know if I showed it, but before there was a check mark next to security. And now there's not. So let's see if we don't even need to type in a password at all. So this is still up. Let's do configuration. It still wants one. Man, I don't know. It says 6 zeros by default in the documentation, but it doesn't say anything about what the username is in this thing. Let's try this again. Man, I'm losing interest in that login. I don't think we need it anyway. Back by popular demand. Here's Khloe. She cannot be trusted in here. She's a little over a year old, and she's a little sad because we're all sad. We lost our older cat this week. Khloe, she's just gonna run away. Come here. Do you like Dell? Nikki liked Sun Microsystems and IBM machines. What do you think? I'm trying to like get her used to being in here because she likes to like, you know, chew on stuff. And there's a lot of bad stuff in here. Hi. Oh, she's gonna hang out with us. You gonna sit? You gonna sit? No. Okay, everyone say goodbye. Goodbye, Khloe. Oh, here's a good one for you. The default username is admin, and the default password is password. Probably it's in the documentation, and I just didn't see it. But obviously, we're in. I don't know what just happened there. Oh yeah, we're framing. We're framing. If you know, you know. Yeah, we're in. So here we are. Again, I don't think we really needed this to use this thing. Oh wow, cool. This is actually really good. So I was right. The left magazine. How would you know which one though? What the? We can move. Wow, you can move tapes from one slot to another. That's ridiculous. This is amazing. Okay, this was worth it. I'm glad I spent the last hour trying to figure out how to get in here. Oh, just refreshed. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so there's like a lot of physical mechanisms in here. The drive is in the back. It's got a physical picker that grabs from each magazine. And then the mail slot, of course, we saw that already. And you know I love a good pixel art diagram of my enterprise gear. Let's do inventory. I would like to click OK to continue. It says inventory started. And I can hear this thing rolling through all the slots in the magazines. It doesn't have anything in there. I think we're going to eject one of these, get a tape in there, see what it has to say. I must say, this thing is scratching a particular itch I wasn't even sure I had. It's a mixture between a bunch of software, a bunch of physical, you know, stuff going on. Tapes are always interesting. It's mid-2000s, gotta love that. This thing is wild. Okay, I think what we're gonna do is we are going to load a couple tapes in here. And I'm gonna put one in slot 1. I must say these are very satisfying to hold. They're pretty hefty. And let's say enter. Oh yeah, this takes a second. It literally has to physically, I think, bring the picker over here. So it says, insert tape, push until prompted. We got to get about a zip drive in. Enter. It's going to load that into slot 1. That took about 30 seconds and made a lot of noise. So it knows something is in slot 1. We are going to go to slot 2. We're going to load another tape in. Press enter. It takes like 5 seconds before it's ready for the next tape. Enter. It's loading that second tape, and it makes like the worst noises you could ever want to hear out of a computer. So we should, when this thing's done doing its thing, have 2 tapes in this magazine. It's all wrapped up, and check this out. All I did was bring the screensaver, back to life on Windows 7. And this thing is updating so often that it knew already that refresh I showed you earlier. So we've got 2 tapes. And what we're going to do is we're going to try to move tape 2. Yeah, that's that refresh I was talking about. This is pretty nice. It was made in 2009, this particular unit, but I think it was like 04, 05 when they came out with this. This is like pretty top tier web application back in those days. So we're going to move tape 2 over to, I don't know, Write Magazine slot 9. So let's move slot 2 to slot 9, submit. And of course we're going to click OK to continue. It says move started, please wait. And of course this thing's making all sorts of noises. I wonder if some of these gears need some grease or something. I promise we'll pull the lid off. First we're going to try to actually use these tapes with a Windows 2000 machine probably. Yeah, I'm going to wait for this to finish. Oh yeah, it's done. We can see tape 2 is empty in the left magazine, and it got moved to the right magazine, slot number 9. Let's eject. I don't know. This probably isn't all that exciting, but let's eject the right magazine and have a look. Wonder if I can do that in here. I didn't see necessarily anything in here that would let me eject a magazine. We'll do that on the front panel. I can't believe how fun this thing is. And we haven't even used the actual tapes. So let's get into the eject command. We're going to eject the right magazine and learn what slot number 9 is. There we go. I don't know if it was luck or coincidence that it brings you the tape, but here is our tape. And apparently this is slot 9. I'm not seeing anything in here that tells me which slot this is. So remember, there's like a wheel over here and I can move these around. And I have, yeah, no indication that that is slot 9. I'm probably just missing something. Let's get this large magazine back in though. And for the record, that UI was updated right away, missing the right magazine. Now it's analyzing the right magazine. It refreshed and showed up. You can probably hear the drive clanging away, taking a look at this thing. And a few moments later, after it did its preliminary checks, it's still making a lot of noise. It sees the tape in slot 9 on the right magazine that we just inserted. This thing is crazy. But we want to actually hook this thing up over SCSI to a real machine and see if we can write and read from these tapes. This laptop does not have a SCSI bus, of course. However, this thing does. This big Compaq Proliant. I just installed Windows 2000 on this. I think it's the perfect candidate, and it's also physically close. I'm going to get this massive drive array off of it and move it over, and it's going to get a lot louder in here. And we'll hook it up to this thing. Okay, we've got this Compaq Proliant PL800. It's a Pentium 3 machine, early 2000s, so it's a little too old to be technically period correct for this guy, which probably came out roughly 10 years later. But it's running Windows 2000, and it's got a SCSI controller on it, and I think it'll have no problem talking to that guy. We are going to hook up this Compaq keyboard that was meant to go in like a rack. Shelf isn't the right word, like drawer that comes out. That's why it's so small. It'd be in a server rack, and this is how you would access a KVM or whatever. It's got this, late 90s, early 2000s trackball thing on it. I tried to use this in the last video with a Windows 95 machine. Didn't work, so we're going to hook it up to the source. An actual Compaq Proliant. I think it'll like it. Hopefully Windows 2000 likes it. This was sent in by a patron and viewer named Mark, so a huge thanks to him. I'm really hoping it works because I'm excited to use this terrible trackball. And like, come on. Match made in heaven. On the back of this Proliant, we've got a SCSI connector to the internal SCSI bus. And I've got this massive SCSI cable. And we're going to hook them up. I'll be back. I got to hook everything up, get this thing power and video and everything. We're going to start fresh. So I held the power button on this guy for a few seconds. And it is going into system shutdown, and it's done. It said wait up to 4 minutes. Probably took like, I don't know, 10 seconds. Okay, everything's hooked up. I just powered this guy back on first, and it's doing its little checks, and I really like computers, so I'm kind of living the dream right now. I did not close this browser window when I turned that thing off, and it's still, you can probably hear it, grinding away, looking through all the magazine slots. It already found this tape. This web app is very impressive for the mid-2000s. Let's see it. Oh, hasn't found the other tape yet. Maybe it never will. All the doubters were doubting. Me being the doubter. It found it. It's doing all its checks. It's still grinding away. Again, I never even closed this web browser. Most applications today, web applications, would not have survived the server restarting, basically. Like, this is really impressive. This thing says system ready. It's initialized. So we'll bring the big dog online. Feel like there's like a, little delay. There it goes. This thing has really pleasant fans, as does this thing. So it's actually not too bad down here. I say this every time, but these Compaqs take an alarming amount of time before the video shows up. So it's scary every time. Yeah, there it is. Look at that splash screen. So good. I like to pride myself on being a guy that doesn't care about keyboards, but I must say, I'm not going to click anything because it's posting, but this one is nice. I didn't catch it earlier. Scanning for SCSI devices. It saw something, but I didn't see what the name was. Ultrium 2. That is really good. That is what we want. Getting into Windows 2000 Professional. The OG SCSI hard drives on this thing are still working. It didn't complain, but the mouse is... I definitely don't have a mouse. Or a keyboard. Dang. There's no delete key. Here we go. Control delete. Bummer. Found another PS2 keyboard. Can't find my mouse. Wonder why. This setup is better anyway. I get to use the mouse over here on the tape drive. Very nice. I have some pretty bad news. This keyboard and mouse aren't working either. I can boot into Windows 2000, but I'm messing with the keyboard, I'm moving the mouse. Nothing. This is not good. I've rebooted several times, and I have used this exact keyboard and this exact mouse. It's just PS2 mouse and keyboard with this machine, and like, it's like the PS2, I don't know if you call it a controller or whatever on this thing has gone bad. What the heck? Did this thing kill it? I don't know. I really don't know. This is not good, guys. I figured it out. Let me show you what I learned. I got this mouse and keyboard working just fine again. And so now I've got this one back on because I'm feeling a little more hopeful this time. The deal with these old Compaqs is they really want to know what operating system you're trying to run on them. So it starts up and the CMOS battery is dead in this thing, and it says unconfigured system detected and you need to choose an operating system. Both keyboards always worked when I was doing this, so I'm going to choose one for Windows NT. And you'll notice we see NT 5.4 and 3.5.1. I've always just chose NT4, even though I'm running Windows 2000, but some commenters on a previous video with this thing noted that Windows NT 5 was just the early, maybe even internal name for Windows 2000, so I thought, okay, I'll choose NT 5. When I do that, none of the keyboards or mice work. So we're going to try it on this Compaq keyboard and choose Windows NT 4 this time. And the machine's actually going to reboot. It'll skip that config thing because it's in memory now. And hopefully we'll boot into Windows 2000 and this will be working. Okay, we're booted and we have a mouse. Do we have a keyboard? We do. That is weird. This trackball's gonna be a nightmare to use. That'll be fine though. Ugh. Yeah, oh my gosh, I'm gonna regret this. This is cool though. This thing works completely fine. Trackball and everything. We'll roll with that. Literally. So that's super weird about that Windows NT 5 thing breaking the mouse and keyboard, even though the operating system can boot and everything. Or Compaq funny business, I guess. But back to the task at hand. I'm gonna shut this guy down. This trackball is something else. I have not used one of these in a very long time. We'll get this booted back up and wait for it to initialize, get this thing going, and see if it can see it in Windows. Both units are powered on, so we're going to go over to Device Manager, and it can see it, this Surtance Ultrium 2 SCSI sequential device, but it does not have any drivers for it. And granted, this version of Windows is 5 to 10 years older than the device. There are some drivers I can find online for this. I was reading that these basic IBM Ultrium 2 drivers will work. I think there's also some Dell drivers I can hunt down. But I did kind of want to try something. Oh, and for the record, in computer management, it doesn't see this thing at all. It just sees the CD-ROM, the hard disk, and the floppy drive. But I was sort of curious about getting in here and telling it to put one of the tapes in the drive. Okay, so let's go from slot 1 to the drive. Remember, somewhere in here, I think towards the back, is an actual tape drive that the tape has to be in for the computer to see it. A few minutes and a lot of noise later, it says Gen 2 data tape loaded. Yeah, no change here. Not much of a surprise. Because this thing is an autoloader, meaning the tapes can move in and out and into the drive and stuff, you're going to want to be able to control that from the computer, I would imagine. That's going to require special drivers. I think this would be pretty easy on Linux, but Linux isn't running on this thing, and I don't have a Linux machine with that type of SCSI controller and cable. So we're going to forge ahead with Windows and see where we get. Found a slightly newer version of the drivers supported on Windows 2000 for this device, but it's only mentioning LTO3. We're going to find out. Maybe it'll be okay. I was trying to get this computer on a network so that I could transfer this 6 megabyte file over, but this built-in network interface appears to be broken. I can't establish a link. There's actually another one up in here that you can't quite see. Of course, I don't have the drivers for that either. It didn't feel good writing a 6 megabyte exe to this CDR, but here we are. I don't know if it's the driver we need, but we've got a driver. You know, let's do it. Oh, I see LTO2 SCSI drivers for Windows 2000. This is good. Let's get back into the device manager, and we're gonna right-click this guy and install a driver, hopefully. I'm gonna specify the exact location. Dell drivers, this thing, this one. I don't know. Thinks it's happy about that. Whoa, tape drives, look at that. Okay. I'm surprised I didn't have to restart. What does that mean? Do I need like more software to actually use a tape drive? I literally have no idea. Well, I don't know. I'm gonna go do some more research. It's the next day, done a little research, and I think we have some viable options here to attempt to use these tapes on this machine. I have been starting this thing up first, letting it fully boot, and then booting this up, finding it on the SCSI bus and everything. I don't know if I have to do it that way, but that's what I've been doing. So it takes like 7 or 8 minutes from being fully off to everything's up and I'm in Windows. Back over in Device Manager, of course, we already saw that we have a tape drive, so that driver's good. And something I didn't notice is we also have a medium changer. It says it's unknown, but this is actually, theoretically, the ability to change the tapes. I think that's what this driver is doing. I don't like that it says unknown, but we're gonna go for it. And then over in Programs, Accessories, System Tools, we've got Backup. I believe this is NT Backup. And I think if it detects the drive, we can put some files on a tape, hopefully. So I'm gonna launch the Backup Wizard. I haven't done this before. We'll find out. Let's just back up a file. Save ourselves some heartache. Let's back up that driver. That's fitting. I need to choose the media to receive it. Yeah, okay, we still have a problem. Can't see the tape drive, I think. That's fine. Plan number 2. I do have a third plan, and it involves not using this computer at all, so hopefully you don't have to go there. We're going to install Veritas Backup Exec 10.0. This is some software that does tape backups and stuff. It should have drivers. It is roughly when this thing came out. Let's see what we get. Not a lot of good stories about this thing online, so this is probably bringing some flashbacks. PTSD to someone that had to deal with this stuff. Generating some of my very own PTSD right now. It just won't launch the installer. It's just stuck here. The disk was spinning. I'm going to eject the disk. That's just there now. Let's put the disk back in. What is this? I'm probably fighting an uphill battle here using Windows 2000 and this older machine. Probably I'm going to need to get a different machine to try this out with. And Windows Server 2003 or something like that. Let's see what we got going on here. Well, yeah. My computer is not responding. That's good. Oh, it's just a Veritas machine now. It's possible the disk is messed up. I can't even right-click to explore it. Well, plan 2.5, Veritas? Backup Exec 9. From my reading, there's a good chance this is just too old for this thing, but let's give it a shot. The other CD also got this far before getting stuck on the splash screen, so let's see how this one does. Won't even show us a splash screen. I think the CD-ROM drive has stopped working while I'm doing this. I've got a known good disk in there, the one I put the Dell drivers on the machine with. It read that just fine yesterday. And now it can't read it. Can't read any disks. Well, it kind of does, obviously. You saw the installer start up. What the? Uh-oh. I was trying to restart the computer just to see. And then we blue screened. Real hard. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that CD-ROM drive is cooked. Now I restarted the computer, and when you try to read a CD, it hard reboots the computer. You don't even get a blue screen. So, okay. Well, now I can't even boot from the hard disk, non-system disk, when it tries to boot from the SCSI drive that's in there. So, RIP Windows 2000 install. You were near useless. We need to find another computer. I found one. It's an HP Proliant DL380 Gen 5. Check out this information panel on the front. Very USS Enterprise. But I got tricked. I don't think this is actually going to work for us, and I'll open it up and show you why. Remember, we're not really going for... Oh, it was dirty in the garage when I picked this up. We're not really going for practical. You know, we're just trying to have a little fun. A little home lab fun down in the basement. Yep. So I was reading the documentation before I went and looked at this thing, and it supported PCI, PCI Express, and PCI-X, I think, depending on your riser cage card here. And so I thought, well, PCI riser cage when I took a look up in the garage where I was storing this, but it's not good. So let me get this out. These are theoretically toolless, but there's an Allen key literally slotted on the back if you can't get these little push buttons to come up. I've never used this server before, for the record. My understanding is that it works though. So let me show you the problem. That's not PCI, that is PCI Express. And I don't have any PCI Express SCSI controller cards. I've got tons of PCI cards. This thing does not have an onboard SCSI controller because it is SAS. I mean, that is, how's this thing going here? I mean, that is SCSI. Serial attached SCSI, but for what I need to do here, it's not gonna work. This is toolless. So you tighten down your screw, and then it's really weird. You push your finger in on that blue thing, and then it'll lock the pin in place. I'll try to give you an example here. So if you push this in, it'll push the button down. Not the greatest thing I've ever seen. So that's too bad. We'll see this one in the future. I'll do probably a whole video on it. I recently picked this up for the cost of shipping. It is 70 pounds. From a viewer named Matt, so a huge thanks to him. He also sent me a G2, still Compaq branded. So yeah, we'll get these in a video. This one's kind of cool. I've never used this generation of HP server before, and it's got some drives in it. It's got the integrated lights out management too, I think. So that could be a fun video, but it's not gonna work tonight. And for the record, yeah, I could reinstall Windows 2000 on this thing. I could put a new CD-ROM drive in. These drives are really hard to, they're a pain in the ass to get out of these things. And I can install Linux on it, of course, but that just doesn't sound very fun right now, so we're gonna do something else. We're doing a big pivot. This is a Sun Microsystems Sunfire V440 enterprise server. I think it came out in 2003. I'm pretty sure this particular one I've got racked up here was built in 2004. It is running Solaris 10, and Solaris 10, Sun's Unix variant, has native tools and capabilities to talk to LTO tape drives, read and write data to them. It also has the ability to detect a media changer, so that robotic stuff going on inside the tape drive. So I'm going to get a bunch of this stuff powered up. We need some of this networking equipment to be able to communicate with that thing from the other room over the network. And I'm going to clean all this crap off the top of this rack. We'll put the tape drive up here. The SCSI cable's plenty long to get back there. I can't remember if I mentioned, obviously that V440 has the SCSI adapter with an external connector that we need for this tape drive. I'm going to get all that done. Got the PowerVault on top of that other rack. And I must say, the entire time I've owned this SCSI cable, I've always been really annoyed by how long it is, but here it is. This is its day to shine. Oh, and I'm daisy chaining two 240 volt power cables together to reach the tape drive, so don't worry about that one. We got to power some of this stuff up. I've got this little Go app I wrote, and I can remotely give power to things in the retro rack. So for now, I'm going to need some of the switches. I'm going to need a console server. If you want to know more about this stuff, go watch my older videos. We're going to need to turn that on, and then we're going to turn on the V440. I should say give it power. It uses a remote management capability that Sunfires have. This is going to allow me to console into the remote management, and then we'll power it up, but we won't boot Solaris, and then we will probe for SCSI devices. Let's telnet into the V440's remote management card, the ALOM, and my network is not up yet. Give it a little more time. There we go. Let's try to telnet in again. And here we are at the ALOM, the Advanced Lights Out Manager. See if I set it to my usual stuff. Definitely not my wife's name. And here we are at the ALOM. I can never remember if it's power on or power dash on. I think it's power on. It is. So host system has been reset. That means the machine is actually powering up, as in the CPU has power and everything. But we're not going to boot yet because of the configuration I have on this machine. Boot to an operating system, that is. So you type console, and we should be getting the output as if you had if you had a video card, as if you had plugged in a monitor. It's off doing some checks right now. It might be a second before it spits some information at us. There it goes. It's coming to life. It's going to do a memory check, maybe? I can't remember. It's looking for all the items attached to it. This might be good news, that it sees more than one SCSI item. Those are probably just its controllers. I'm going to stop talking until I actually know what I'm talking about. I actually almost never know what I'm talking about. So we're going to issue a probe SCSI all, and that's fine. It's going to go off and tell us if it can find SCSI devices. I'm expecting it to find at least one hard disk, and then I'm hoping it says something about a tape drive. This is really good. Oh yeah, I have 4 SCSI disks in there. I might have like a ZFS pool or something cooking. I can't remember what I did with this thing. It found the removable tape. This, I think, is the actual tape drive inside the PowerVault. And then it also found another item on the same physical SCSI cable, and it says removable device type 8 Dell PV124T. I think this is the media changer. You interact with this one to actually read and write from the tape that happens to be inserted, and you can interact with this one to control the little robot that's in that thing that moves tapes around. So with that, we're going to issue boot, and this should get us into Solaris 10, and I'm going to go do a bunch of reading because I've never done any tape stuff ever, let alone on a Unix system. Solaris has booted, and I think it is supposed to put tape drives that it sees in dev RMT, removable magnetic tape, maybe? Don't quote me on that. And it doesn't see anything. I think I should have booted with a flag that tells it to reconfigure itself. Solaris is an interesting beast. I don't know if it's like other Unixes, but it's pretty unique if you're coming from the Linux world. So I think we issue this bad boy. and maybe it'll go and figure itself out. Whoa. It may have. I'm seeing some RMT stuff in here. And look at that. It found the SCSI change device, the changer. That's like the robot inside the Dell. Okay. Let's do another ls dev remote. Oh, yes, we see this. This is kind of strange. I'll try to go over this. It sees the one drive, drive 0, and there's all these other config. Let me just show you. So the way this works is in dev RMT, you have all these other, I guess it's symlinking these to a command it's going to run, I'm not sure. But you've got the drive number, that was the 0 we saw, and then you have an optional density, something to do with how they're compressing things on the tape, whether or not your BSD compatible behavior, self-explanatory I suppose if you know the difference, and then an optional no rewind, don't rewind the tape after the command or maybe after writing, I'm not sure. So all of this translates to all these guys in here we are seeing. So I'm looking for like ON maybe. There it is. It's also an OM. ON. Let's see if we can get the status of the tape drive. I think we're supposed to use the MT command, which is the oh, that makes sense. Magnetic tape control, MT. That's pretty logical. And we use a -F tape name. Okay, let's see if we can figure this out. I want to not rewind the tape. I don't know if that matters. And my tape name is 0N. So we're going to give it, we're learning here live. We're going to give it a magnetic tape, and we're going to give it a explicit tape name, 0N. And I think we can ask for status. Holy crap. It sees something. So this Certance thing, which we also saw on Windows, must be the brand name of the Ultrium 2 tape drive that's literally in the PowerVault. What do we do now? In the meantime, I set the PowerVault to DHCP and got it on the RetroAct network, which means we can view that administration UI here in a Windows XP VM. I must say, this was my ultimate dream, that the RetroAct and all this stuff I've been building up would be more and more useful over time. And so far, yes. So of course, we can see there is a tape in drive 1. And I think we're going to use good old tar. So I create tarballs and gzip tarballs all the time. It's basically the, you could say the Linux version of zip, but it was initially for tape archive. That's where the tar name comes from. So I think we're going to try to all arbitrarily make like a 200 megabyte file or something, and we'll try to tar it up and get it on this drive. The first thing we're going to do is use DD to create a 200 megabyte file. It's just going to be empty, but something substantial to put on the tape, basically. That's done, and let's just make sure it is roughly 200 megabytes, and Solaris says yes, testfile.bin is. Now I got to go look up how to put it on the tape. Here we go. This is the tar tape archive command. We are going to create an archive. We're going to be verbose. And then we're saying write it to OHN. So 0 is the only tape drive that it knows about. H stands for high density. I think LTO2 was high density, as in 200 gigs on a tape. I think I can write this in a lower density so that an LTO1 drive could read it. Let me know if I'm wrong. This was some very brief research I did. And we are not going to rewind, just for fun. And let's see. Oh man. I'll be back, I guess. I don't know how long it's going to take to write 200 megabytes to one of these. Ooh, back in the GUI, it says status writing. It's writing Gen 2 data. So I think that's what I was talking about that density. Gen 2, I'm guessing, is LTO2. And now it says it's idle. This web app is phenomenal. Back over here, it's done. So what we're going to do is rewind the tape. What's happened is we've written the tape to a certain point, 200 megabytes worth. You know what? Let's actually try to write 2 files. Let's go advanced mode. I'm going to make another test file called testfile2. And I'm going to make it smaller. I cannot do simple math. 102,400. That was actually a pretty easy number to divide in 2 anyway. Well, let's make another one. This is just an empty blank file called testfile2. And if we do this, we can see we have a 200 megabyte file that we created earlier. It's already on the tape, and we have another 100 megabyte file. Let's try to write this one onto the tape. Oh, okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use the MT command to rewind the tape. Maybe. This thing says it's idle. I don't know. Oh, rewinding. We're doing it. I think this is working. This is wild. I've never done tape stuff with tar before, so I'm going to make a test directory, and it is empty, obviously, and we're going to try to pull the files from the tape. And I was reading, you just pull them by name. Based on the way tapes work, it's going to have to traverse through the whole tape until it finds the file you want. But we're just going to grab the first one. So it's saying tar extract verbose from this tape. But let's try this. And it found, yeah, I think that means it thinks it found it. That's the verbose output we're getting. This thing, of course, knows that it's reading from the tape. This is wild. I don't know if it's actually wild, but okay, we got the first one, and it didn't rewind, so I'm guessing it's going to be pretty easy to get the second one. That finished pretty quick, and we don't have the file. I think that means it could not find it, because we never got this verbose output here. I'm sure this is very hard to follow along with, but let's rewind the tape again, which was this command. I'm already satisfied that if I actually knew what I was doing and did a little more research, I could get this to work, but so I don't think we're going to worry about that second file, but let's try to see if it'll tell us everything it thinks is on that tape, which I think the T command with verbose will do. I think it stands for table of contents or something. It sees the first file, so it's reading through the tape. Yeah, I don't think I ever successfully wrote that second file. I've rewound the tape, and I'm actually just going to write it again, and I was doing some more reading, and I think this copy, create, whatever C is, it's actually going to destroy everything it finds. And so this should write both test files, I believe. Let's find out. It's writing the first one, testfile.bin. The other one is testfile2. It thinks both of those are fine. Let's try to read the contents again. This was no rewind, so we might want to rewind the tape. Tar might automatically do that. I'm not entirely sure. This is why there is a whole industry of software to present GUIs and probably nice CLIs to do this for you. I'm guessing, so that you don't have to manually keep track of like what step you are in the tape. I don't know, if you did tape stuff in the back in the day or now, tape is still really relevant. LTO10 is like 30 terabytes or something. Let me know. These commands only take like a handful of seconds, even though I'm cutting them out. So let's try to list everything on this tape. Found that one, found the other one, and just for completeness, I've cleared out this directory. We are in this collab directory at the root of the drive. So here I'm instructing tar to grab both files off of the tape. See what happens. I have a new appreciation for tar, I will say. Found the first one, found the second one. Are they here? They are. Okay, we're all tape experts now. Now I'd like to figure out how to get this lid off so that we can run it and observe the mechanisms inside, hopefully. I'm not going to promise I can get this thing off. I mentioned way back early in the video about these sort of loose screws that are obviously going to block this lid from coming off. To orient you, this U-shaped piece, the side, this, and this are all one piece that needs to come off, I believe. And if I flip this around, I've already taken care of these on the other side. They're no longer there. There are these little bolts with a square head on them, and they just sit in there. And the cartridge actually pushes them and keeps them out. When you're putting the magazine back in, and these are in there, you have to sort of pull on them, the first one, then the second one, then the third one, as you put the magazine in. And I was thinking that's kind of ridiculous, but I think it sort of makes sense. They had to cram a lot of stuff into this width, and if you're racked up, the rack is pulling these tight. They're never going to interfere with these. In fact, I have the rail kit. Can't imagine I'll ever use it, but for once I have the rails for something I probably won't rack up. It's surprisingly light, which is suspicious. Let me open this up. Here's some ears or something. And this is it. And I'm thinking it's surprisingly light because this can't possibly be everything. Maybe you bolt this in and it just, yeah, I'm thinking I have like half. Okay, that's par for the course. I feel better about that since I wasn't going to use it anyway. First, let's see if we can use our fancy credit card trick again. I don't really know how I accomplished that. Oh, you just got to push deep enough. Okay, that one's going to come out, and then we're going to need to get this one out. There we go. That wasn't too bad. And finally, hours later, there's the label for which tape slot you're in. So it's on the top. If we rotate that, I think we'll get, yeah, there's slot 8 back here. So there's 8 total in this one. So this must be 2 over here. Yeah, nice. Okay. Now I understand. That's good to know. So we'll get the rail screws out. And the first 2 aren't too bad. But look how far I gotta put my arm. I gotta bend down. There we go. Okay, put those somewhere safe. What's making me nervous is there's a bunch of these flush screws on the sides, but there's also an awful lot on the top. And there's a different style here. And I don't know if those are holding things together. There's also these little slits here, and some metal posts are actually sitting in them, keeping something aligned. But I'm just gonna carefully remove each screw and try to slowly lift the lid off. Got all the screws I could find anyway. There were a few of these on each side, the back and the top, and then there were 4 of these bigger ones. I think they were right here on the top. And then apparently this hasn't been opened since it was refurbished. We're gonna break our warranty void if seal is broken sticker here. Let's see how much of a fight this thing's gonna put up. The back is loose. There might be a special way you're supposed to do it. The front, this feels very connected still. Ooh. Okay, I think I'm gonna get it. Whoa. I don't know why in my head I thought there would be like some empty space in here and we'd actually be able to see something really going on, but it'll still be cool. I don't see any lid switch or anything like that. All these parts are pretty sturdy to the bottom of the case, but definitely the top helps kind of secure this stuff. I think we're gonna be able to run it. Let's try sliding carefully the left magazine. That's nice that they left this lip here because that means this will still work. And it's in. I think we'll leave it like that for now. There is a tape in there. Here's the actual tape drive I keep talking about, and the tape we've been writing and reading to I left inserted in the drive. So this thing must be the picker. It can rotate around, it can take a tape and rotate around obviously, and it can cycle through the magazine to find one, go get it, bring it back in. It can use the mail slot, put it into the tape of course. This will be probably the only interesting thing. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna power it on. We'll watch what it does when it's doing that, and then we'll watch it take the tape out of here and bring it to me. All that banging when I was taking the case off, I just had to sort of lift it slightly like that on each side, and then I was able to pull it up. We need some power. Let's turn it on. Tape drive did something. Oh, hopefully I caught that. It flashed a red laser. That's the barcode reader, I think. Here's all the noise it makes. Yeah. Then we should see it rotate the magazines. I'll get you a better shot of that, hopefully. Now this is interesting. I've never actually booted it up without a magazine installed, and it's complaining. It wants a proper magazine, or there must be a blanking magazine that can't hold tapes if you only paid for 8 tapes or whatever. And it wants me to cycle the power. Let's get the right magazine in. Oh, and it's got some like physical switches it's pushing on this thing to let it know what's going on. Power it off. Don't know if I'll need to pull the power cord. It's coming back on. Pretty cool. So it can move up and down a little bit, back and forth a little bit, in addition to turning. And there we go. It's going to cycle through the tape cartridges in the magazine, probably deciding which ones have tapes. I think this guy is probably looking in there somehow and deciding which ones physically have tapes in them. It's doing the right magazine now. It's done initializing. So what we're going to do is tell it to bring that tape out of the drive to the mail slot and see if that looks interesting at all, basically. And I can't remember how to do that. Here we go. This probably won't be real time because it spends a lot of time not really doing anything and just making some noises. The tape drive's making noises right now. Ooh, there's the tape. How does it? Oh, it's taking it back. Coming back out. Going back in. There it goes. How does this thing grab it? Whoa. Whoa, didn't even spin around. Well, let's put this one somewhere in the right magazine. I don't know, slot 11 or something. It wants me to do that before I can put any other commands in to close this door. So we're going to put this tape in slot 11. That's why I have to push it so far. Should want to bring it over here. This thing's going to presumably need to rotate. Yeah, there it goes. I saw 10 go by. Yeah, there it goes. This thing does all sorts of other movements and calibrations long after it's done the task at hand. I think it's almost done. Nope, still cruising around. And it's finally done. That was pretty cool. More or less what I thought was going to be in here. I just thought we were going to be able to maybe see more. I hope you've enjoyed looking at this thing as much as I have. It's a pretty impressive feat of engineering to have all the physical movements of the tapes that are required. And then of course tapes are interesting. I've never actually written to and from a tape on the command line like that. I have used a Ditto Max years and years ago, but it has a GUI and it just kind of worked. So Unix saved the day. I suspect even in Windows 2000 there probably was a reasonable way with the right software and the right drivers to use this thing, but my machine kind of crapped out on me. I wasn't being very hard on it, so that was unfortunate. And again, there were entire suites of software that would let you manage backups with these things, including being able to remotely, with the OS, change the drives and everything. I was doing it manually through the GUI, which was a huge lifesaver in this case. Though I don't think it would have been very hard. There's a command called MTX I could have got on that Solaris machine, and it did physically see the changer on the SCSI bus, and I think I would have been able to maneuver these robotics in here with MTX. So what was going to be a cute 30-minute video is of course over an hour now. I hope you enjoyed following along. I really did have fun with this thing. Don't know what I'm going to do with it. I am thinking about buying modern tapes for my own backup purposes, but it's actually quite expensive still, especially the drives. But if you like this sort of stuff, and you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I don't think I'm going to make my 75K goal by the end of the year, but maybe we'll make it to 70K. I've also got a Patreon where I post behind the scenes type videos, the occasional early video, and the $5 and up tier also gets access to the Serial Port Discord where I hang out quite a bit. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this as I learned about tapes for the first time. And it was a pretty ambitious project given that I chose an autoloader for my first real foray into it. But that's it for this one. I hope I see you in the next video.